This page is the front cover of Nintendo official magazine. It highlights key features including Sonic Adventure 2 on the GameCube, Super Mario Advance 2, and Golden Sun. There's also a shout-out for GameCube launch details, plus the usual promises of news, previews, tips, and Pokémon info. It also boldly claims to be the biggest and the best, while cheekily reminding us it's only £2.99. The next page features the cover of the magazine, boasting about being the UK's biggest-selling Nintendo 64 and Nintendo magazine. It highlights 6 promises to its readers, a team introduction, and ways to get in touch, with mentions of Sonic Adventure 2 and Super Mario Advance 2. It also highlights a Pokémon movie adventure with Mewtwo, and an offer of a free Pokémon TV series Volume 11 video. When you buy Pokémon Mewtwo, returns the movie on video. This page is the contents page. Super Mario Advance 2 is the cover star, promising lovely levels, gorgeous graphics, and everyone's favorite characters. There's a first ever GBA playtest included. Sonic Adventure 2 Battle is getting some love too. Sega's spiky blue hero is making his way onto the GameCube. The game news section teases a bunch of new games. We've got 007 Agent Under Fire, 18-Wheeler, Broken Sword Shadow of the Templars, GameCube launch details, Resident Evil, The Scorpion King, Sheep, Soccer Slam, Star Fox Adventures Dinosaur Planet, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3, Rally 3, VexX, WWF WrestleMania X8, and Turok Evolution. There are reviews of Golden Sun, Mortal Kombat Advance, Monsters, Inc. and Midnight Club, plus 8 pages packed with GBA and GB color reviews, including Pocket Music, European Super League, and Star Wars Jedi Power Battles. Blagfest is giving away Golden Sun, GBA games, Mewtwo videos, Winnie the Pooh games, and Corinthian Pro Stars figures, so get entering. Game Guides focuses on Advance Wars, with tips and tricks to help you conquer the world. There are also official tips for Wario Land 4 and Mortal Kombat Advance, a chance to win a cool Gamester Essentials pack with your tips, and 2 brand new challenges in your scores. Finally, WWF Heroes is shining a spotlight on Triple H. This page features Super Mario World, Super Mario Advance 2, hailing Mario's return on the Game Boy Advance. The text claims it's a slice of gaming heaven for both retro fans and newcomers. It calls Super Mario Advance 2 a true Nintendo masterpiece with Bowser kidnapping Peach, and Mario on hand to save her. Players can try something new by controlling Luigi, and there are more Mario Bros. Classic multiplayer battles. It also mentions that Matza has new moves to try in Super Mario Advance 2, like gliding over the levels with a cape. There is also a game info section that states it is by Nintendo and the type is platformer, released the 12th of April. The next page dives deeper into Super Mario Advance 2 on the Game Boy Advance, offering a look at what's on offer in Super Mario World. It covers the storyline of Peach's kidnapping, the game's controls, and some of Mario and Luigi's abilities. You can now choose to play as Mario or Luigi before each stage. The On the Buttons section gives a breakdown of the controls on the Game Boy Advance, explaining how the D-pad moves your character. The B button allows you to run and pick up objects or throw fireballs, the A button lets you perform a spin jump, and the L button helps you bounce on enemies. It also gives a rundown of the power-ups available, like the mushroom to make Mario or Luigi bigger, the feather to become caped Mario or Luigi, and the flower to throw fireballs. Finally, there's a section dedicated to Yoshi eggs. This page gives us a world map of Super Mario Advance 2, highlighting key locations. It mentions places like Donut Plains with its haunted houses, Vanilla Dome with spooky caves, Cheese Bridge where you might find a secret Star Road entrance if you're clever, Cookie Mountain, Soda Lake, Forest of Illusion, Chocolate Island near Bowser, Kappa Mountain, and Yoshi's Island. There's a quick description of each area, telling you what kind of challenges to expect. Yoshi's house is where you start the game, but unfortunately, he's gone missing. There's also an advert for the animated movie Sinbad, Beyond the Veil of Mists, featuring the voice talents of Brendan Fraser, Leonard Nimoy and Mark Hamill, available on video from February 18th. The next page dives into Super Mario Advance 2, revealing the secrets to finding hidden items, hitting the bar minigame at the end of stages, and unlocking doors on the map screen. It warns about roaming critters like Koopa, Piranha Plant, Boo Buddies, Sumo Brother, Urchin and Charging Chuck. The Switch On section gives tips on how to find and activate Switch Palaces, while Koopa Clan explains how to defeat the big Koopas at the end of each area. The page shows gameplay screenshots of these elements. This page of the magazine continues with Super Mario Advance 2, focusing on finding Star Road with its hidden entrances. It's all about tricky puzzles that test your jumping and baddie bashing skills. The course points are red to mark secret exits and warns you to take it easy to avoid blundering to the normal end of level gate. There's also a section on classic battling in Mario Bros, where up to 4 players can link up with GameLink cables to flip critters and boot them off the screen. However, it's a bit chaotic with many players. The page also has a little We Think section, calling the game a portable classic, full of subtle changes and multiplayer battles, making it great for both mature and younger Mario fans. On the right side of the page there's an advert for Cubics, Robots for Everyone, a new show starting February 11th on Cartoon Network. This page features Sonic Adventure 2 Battle on the GameCube. It remarks about the novelty of seeing a Sonic game on a Nintendo console. The review mentions that it's a direct port of the Dreamcast game and describes it as a fully 3D adventure, where you get to play as either the good guys or the villains. There are screenshots showcasing gameplay and a couple of tips, such as how Sonic can race down the sides of vertical skyscrapers and perform a vicious attack by double-tapping the action button, turning him into a blue streak. The next page dives deeper into Sonic Adventure 2 Battle, explaining the story and gameplay. You choose between the hero team led by Sonic, Knuckles and Tails, or the dark side with Shadow Doctor, Eggman, and Rouge the Bat. There's a breakdown of Sonic's first level, battling the military and a Bigfoot machine. The plot thickens with Shadow's appearance. Dr. Eggman's plan involves using the Eclipse Cannon to destroy the world unless his demands are met. The page also details the GameCube controls, explaining the use of the 3D stick, A, B and C buttons for jumps, actions and camera rotation. This page delves into Sonic Adventure 2 Battle's gameplay further. You're picking a team hero: Sonic, Knuckles, Tails, or Dark, Shadow Doctor, Eggman, Rouge. Playstyles vary, from Sonic and Shadow's speedy levels and rail grinding, to Knuckles and Rouge's Chaos Emerald scavenging, and Tails and Eggman's robot blasting action. There's also a look at Makao, Sonic's little helper, who offers in-game tips. And if you're feeling social, the game has 2-player modes, like Treasure Hunt Race, Action Race Battle, Random Battle, and Shooting Battle, offering different types of competitive action. The next page covers Sonic Adventure 2 Battle on the GameCube. It highlights the KO Garden, describing it as a place to chill out and raise those little KO critters, comparing them to Pokemon, which is a bit cheeky. It also details how to collect and train Chaos by exploring the game and finding KO eggs. The page mentions that you can download your KO to the GBA via a link between the GameCube and GBA, and play games to strengthen them, and then enter them in races or KO Karate. There's a We Think section calling Sonic Adventure 2 Battle a massive game, with different playstyles and characters. Elsewhere on the page you'll find various ringtone and picture message adverts for your mobile, plus competitions to win a GameCube, Nokia 8310, or a laptop. There are also logo design services advertised. This page is a review of Golden Sun for the Game Boy Advance, and it's getting the Nintendo Awesome Award, meaning it scored over 90%. They reckon it's a proper epic RPG, comparing it to Zelda or Final Fantasy, which were previously thought to be impossible to achieve on a handheld console. They have a little how they score box, ranging from real rubbish to amazing game you must play. The game info section lists the game by Nintendo, priced at £34.99 and released on February 22nd. The We Said quote promises a top quality RPG. There are some screenshots showing off the gameplay and storyline, highlighting the level of detail and animation. There's also a bit about the story and characters, including Isaac, Jenna, Saturos and Minardi. The next page delves deeper into Golden Sun, focusing on gameplay elements. Isaac and his gang Garrett, MIA, and Ivan each have unique abilities. The review highlights the mind-bending puzzles and classic RPG battles, complete with djinn creatures. There are details on synergy, describing it as a magical energy for both healing and destruction. Screenshots show djinn in action, along with turn-based battles and some monstrous enemies. They even mention the game's atmospheric music. Sounds like Golden Sun is packing a punch. This page continues the Golden Sun review, breaking down the gameplay further. It starts with the shop till you drop concept, highlighting the necessities of RPG towns, shops, inns, and resurrection spots. The review praises Golden Sun for nailing these basics. Then it moves on to exotic locations, showcasing the lush graphics and intricate regions of Angara. Tasty Gear is next, emphasizing the importance of treasure hunting for hidden weapons and potions, even if it means facing mimics. Into the Arena talks about the Battle Arena, an extra feature unlocked after capturing your first Djinn. Class is Forever introduces the class system, where assigning Djinn affects a character's abilities and even their appearance in battle. The bottom of the page covers Motormouth, highlighting the importance of talking to NPCs for information and puzzle solving. The reviewer notes the user-friendly conversation interface. Finally, the game length is praised, emphasizing the immense world and the time commitment needed to complete the quest, giving the game a 93% score. The next page delivers a brutal dose of nostalgia, with a review of Mortal Kombat Advance. It's all about the gore, fatalities, and classic characters battling for Earth's survival, a deep dive into the game's premise, explaining the Outworld invasion led by Shao Kahn. It mentions the missing fighters, Shiva, Johnny Cage and Raiden, noting the impressive roster of 23 characters. The review highlights the special moves, combos and fatalities that define the series, and even touches upon the friendship moves, and the music is described as good, moody, while the sound effects are deemed pretty awful. The game's graphics are praised as photorealistic as you'll get on the GB Advance, while the backgrounds are called plain and dull. The review wraps up with some brutal fatality descriptions for Cabal, Jax, Nightwolf and Sector. This page is a continuation of the Mortal Kombat Advance review. The reviewer questions if players want to spend time finishing the game, bragging about it, and goes on to highlight the ease of completing the game as Liu Kang on default difficulty. The reviewer criticizes the AI for being either too easy or too hard. There are screenshots showing Liu Kang, Kung Lao, Mileena, Reptile, Bindel, Sub-Zero, and Motaro in action. The game length depends on how much you want to do, potentially taking ages to see all the endings, and the game receives a score of 64%. The bottom of the page contains an advert for Pocket Music that allows you to make music on the move, featuring My Name Is by Eminem. The next page is a review of Monsters, Inc. for the Game Boy Advance. The game tasks you with helping Sully return Boo home in one piece, promising action-packed and colorful platforming. The reviewer praises the game's colorful and innovative look, calling it a potential portable winner. The review details the plot. Sully, the star employee of Monsters, Inc., accidentally brings a human child, Boo, into the monster world. Sully's enemy, Randall, is trying to sabotage him by destroying Boo's door. Gameplay involves searching Monstropolis for pieces of Boo's door while avoiding enemies. A random map generator ensures that each playthrough is different, adding to the challenge. The Repairman section explains the door repairing minigame, which involves slotting pieces into place. Canned Laughter details how Sully can't kill enemies but can stun them using a bone-shattering roar or a laughter gun. Screenshots showcase various aspects of the game, including Randall, the door repairing process, and government agents. The reviewer notes that the characters are bold and colorful, but some levels look similar and dull. They also mention that the game starts small but the later levels can take ages to hunt through for pieces of the door. The game receives a score of 74%, with the reviewer stating that, despite its movie licensing and random map generators, the game feels too much aimless wandering to make this fun, and it all gets rather boring after a few levels. This page reviews Midnight Club for the Game Boy Advance, a racing game where boy racers come out to play at night. The reviewer praises the game's unconventional action and crisp graphics. The review details the gameplay, where you play as a New York cabbie challenged by a racer named Emilio Sanchez to join the Midnight Club, a dangerous racing organization. The open-ended city layouts, viewed from a top-down perspective, are highlighted as a major selling point, with shortcuts and hidden alleys to discover. Want a race? Explains how to find races by spotting cars with a triangle above them, called hookmen. Following them earns you the right to race their crew, and winning unlocks a challenge with the gang leader. What's in the garage? Mentions 42 cars to win, including a New York cab and a Jones J400. The reviewer notes, the music is poor, but the sound effects are acceptable. Arcade Tricks mentions the career modes challenge and the arcade mode for immediate racing action. Screenshots show various gameplay elements, including navigating traffic, following green arrows, racing against groups, and avoiding cop cars. The reviewer notes that the lighting effects are great, and the game is colorful and easy to see. However, they mention that unlocking vehicles is a task, and the races aren't as white-knuckle as expected. The game receives a score of 80%, with the reviewer stating that the visuals are above average, but the excitement isn't enough to make it a true winner. Lolcork? This page features reviews for 2 music creation software titles, and a football game for the Game Boy Advance. The first review is for Pocket Music, a music creation tool that allows users to create tunes on their GB Advance. The reviewer praises its extensive sound samples and ability to create original sounds, suggesting it will provide endless fun for budding songsmiths. The review highlights the grid-based interface, a variety of sound categories, and the ability to alter sounds and cut and paste sections. The reviewer does note that the sound level is low, especially in noisy environments. Despite this, the game receives a score of 80%, with the reviewer stating that it's a cool piece of software, but the Gregbers tinny sound lets it down. Screenshots showcase the grid-based interface, the riff selection menu, and sound editing options. The second review covers European Super League, a football game developed by Virgin Interactive. The reviewer notes that it is a regular fixture on the Game Boy Advance. They criticize the game's isometric and top-down perspectives, noting neither are particularly good. The reviewer also points out the outdated player names. The game receives a score of 48%, with the reviewer describing the gameplay as running at a snail's pace, and the controls as random. Screenshots show the top-down view of a match and close-ups of the kits. Star Wars Jedi Power Battles for Game Boy Advance receives a 70% score, praised for good character animation and authentic Star Wars atmosphere through orchestral music and lightsaber effects. Players control Qui-Gon Jinn, Obi-Wan Kenobi, and Mace Windu, utilizing unique Force moves. However, the game is criticized for overly easy gameplay, simplistic enemies, and a frustrating isometric camera that hinders attacks. Despite being the best portable Star Wars title since Episode 1 Racer, it ultimately feels short-changed. Also reviewed is Tom & Jerry The Magic Ring, 72%, a colorful action platformer allowing players to control either Tom or Jerry. While offering cartoon cameos, it similarly suffers from an awkward isometric perspective, making accurate attacks difficult. Both games share the drawback of a problematic viewpoint impacting gameplay. This page features reviews of Mike Tyson Boxing and ESPN Bass Fishing, both for the Game Boy Advance. Mike Tyson Boxing gets a 74% score, with the reviewer mentioning it has a sporting legend on the box but the gameplay is awkward and clumsy. The review highlights the career mode and unlockable fighters as positives, but ultimately only for true boxing fans. There are screenshots of gameplay and boxer selection menus, with a focus on the less than ideal top-down perspective. ESPN Bass Fishing earns a 66% score. The reviewer says it is as exciting as it gets. If you like the sport, you'll love the game. Fish graphics are good, but few Nintendoids will get excited by this Game Boy Advance simulation. Screenshots include in-game fishing scenes. The next page features a review of Monsters, Inc. for the Game Boy Color, which scored 84%. The reviewer praises the game's ability to capture the magic of the Hollywood movie and its lively graphics. The gameplay is described as standard platform fare, but enjoyable. Sully and Mike have individual skills, which are needed to complete the game. A score of 84% is given. Screenshots show the game in action, with levels and characters. Also reviewed are Pooh and Tigger's Honey Safari, 83%, Gremlins Unleashed, 77%, and Extreme Ghostbusters, 59%. Tigger is sent out on a hunt to find honeypots to throw a party for his friends. Billy receives a mogwai for his birthday, but soon vicious gremlins spawn. As the player, you have to collect items. As for the Ghostbusters, the reviewer suggests avoiding the game due to clunky controls and bad graphics. This page is a full-page advert for the Game Boy Advance and Game Boy Color game, Monsters, Inc. The tagline reads, "We scare because we care." The ad showcases Sully and Mike, and the game cartridges for both systems. It also includes the Disney Interactive logo, and the THQ logo. The right side of the page promotes the Awesome Collection magazine. It claims to be completely tested by experts and include all the games you must have. A visual of the magazine cover with the Nintendo logo is shown. The next page showcases the Awesome Collection, starting with Banjo-Kazooie and Banjo-Tooie, with scores of 96% and 97% respectively. The reviewer praises the worlds, characters and puzzles, highlighting the final battle with Gruntilda in Banjo-Kazooie and the Ordnance Challenge in Banjo-Tooie. Diddy Kong Racing gets a 92%, celebrated for its cuteness and multiplayer fun, rivaling Mario Kart 64. Donald Duck Quack Attack scores 90%, praised for capturing the Disney cartoon magic. Donkey Kong 64 receives a 96%, lauded as another slice of rare magic. Duke Nukem 0 Hour gets a 92%, with the reviewer enjoying the game's one-liners and boss battles. Beetle Adventure Racing scores 91%, noted for its fast-paced racing and crazy power-ups. Conker's Bad Fur Day, with a score of 93%, is called the rudest and funniest game ever, highlighting the Matrix-inspired scene. Excitebike 64 gets a glowing review with a score of 93%. F1 Racing Championship and F1 World Grand Prix 2 both get a 90%. F-Zero X scores 92%. GoldenEye 007 earns a 94%. FIFA 99 scores 90%. ECW Hardcore Revolution scores 90%. The page also features images and brief descriptions of various controllers. The official N64 controller, Logic 3 S6T4 controller, Gamesta's G64 controller, Blaze's HyperPad Plus, and Guillemot's Trilogy 64. This page continues the awesome collection, kicking off with ISS 98, earning a 93% score and praised for its unbelievable gameplay and super realistic graphics. Mario Golf gets a 90%, highlighted for its wacky ways to play. International Track and Field scores 94%, touted as the ultimate multiplayer game. Jet Force Gemini receives a 93%, noted for its blasting action and super cool characters. Mario Kart 64 gets a 90%, celebrated as a timeless classic. Mario Party 2 scores 91%, praised for its mini-games and brilliantly designed boards, and then Mario Party 3 gets a 92%. Mario Tennis and Mickey Speedway, USA, both score 92%. NFL Quarterback Club 99 gets a 90%, while Operation Wimback also lands a 90%. Mortal Kombat 4 has a £39.99 price tag. Paper Mario scores a 93%, celebrated for its cartoon RPG adventure. Perfect Dark gets a whopping 97%, touted as better than GoldenEye 007. Rounding off the page are Rumble Packs and Memory Packs. The standard Rumble Pack, a Nintendo product, a rechargeable Jolt Pack from Joytech, the G64 Tremor and Memory Pack by Gamester, a Shockwave Pack from Datel, and the Jolt Pack by Blaze. This page has the awesome collection continues with reviews. Pokemon Puzzle League, £39.99, gets a 90% score, blending Pokemon with Tetris Attack for puzzle fun. Quake 2, £44.99, scores 91%, promising aliens, weapons, and intense multiplayer action. Rayman 2, £44.99, scores 91%, praised as a top platformer. Resident Evil 2, £44.99, scores 94%, delivering virus-fighting horror. Rocket Robot on Wheels, £39.99, gets 90%, a unique platformer about reopening an amusement park. Shadow Man, £49.99, scores 93%, featuring a disturbing spookathon. South Park, £49.99, scores 90%, with crude humour. Ridge Racer 64, £44.99, gets a 92%, and promises arcade mayhem. Pokemon Stadium, £49.99, scores 90%, letting you battle Pokemon in 3D. Pokemon Stadium, £249.99, scores 91%, with new Pokemon in 3D. Premier Manager 64, £39.99, gets 90%, described as addictive for football management fans. South Park Rally, £39.99, also gets 90%, and is different from other kart races. Memory options are also listed. A 256k Nintendo card, £14.99, an 8 meg Blaze card, £14.99, a 1 meg Logic 3 card, £5.99, a 256k Gamester card, £4.99, and a 1 meg Joytech card, £9.99. This page features more Nintendo 64 game reviews and an intro to Pikachu. Star Wars Episode 1 Racer, £49.99, scores 90%, capturing the film's spirit with super-fast pod racing. Star Wars Rogue Squadron, £44.99, also gets 90%, putting you in control of iconic Star Wars vehicles. Super Mario 64, £29.99, scores 92%, still a classic platformer. Super Smash Bros. £44.99, earns 90% for its all-star Nintendo brawling action. 1080 Degrees Snowboarding, £29.99, gets 90%, praised for graphics and gameplay. Tarzan, £39.99, scores 90%, a Disney action platformer. Tony Hawk Skateboarding, £39.99, earns 90% for intuitive controls. Turok, £239.99, gets 94% for Dino Crunching Mayhem. Turok Rage Wars, £39.99, scores 93%, designed for multiplayer fragging. Twine, £39.99, earns 92%, a Bond film adaptation. WWF Attitude, £49.99, gets 91%, a wrestling sim with lots of wrestlers and options. WWF No Mercy, £49.99, scores 96%, considered the best wrestling game. The page also includes a steering section with accessories like the Top Drive Plus, £59.99, Formula Race Pro, £49.99, Shock 2, £39.99, V3 FX Racing Wheel, £59.99, and Race 64 Compact, £49.99. Finally, there's a Who's Who section introducing Pikachu, the famous Pokémon. It describes Pikachu as an electric-type Pokémon, number 25, and a key member of Ash's team. The text also mentions Pikachu's role in Super Smash Bros. Melee. This page features the Awesome Collection with reviews for Nintendo 64 games and a selection of Game Boy Advance games. Zelda Majora's Mask scores 96%, praised for engaging gameplay and new masks. Zelda Ocarina of Time scores 97%, considered a classic. Super Street Fighter 2 scores 92% for bringing top fighting action to the GBA. There is an advert featuring Game Boy Advance games like Star Wars, Jedi Power Battles, Hot Wheels Burning Rubber, and Disney Pixar Monsters Inc. Also available from THQ are Game Boy Advance titles like Boxing, Thornberry's Chimp Chase, F-14 Tomcat, and Fila Athletics. Contacts are listed for Acclaim, Activision, BBI, Blaze, Capcom, Datal, EA, Gamester, Guillemot, Infogrames, Interact, Joytech, Konami, Logic 3, Midway, Nintendo Nyko, TDK, THQ, Ubisoft, and Virgin. The Top 10 section shows Pokémon Stadium 2 in pole position. The next page gives us the official tips section, promising tips tested by Nintendo's experts. We've got hints and cheats for games like Advance Wars, Doom, Mario Kart, Super Circuit, Mortal Kombat Advance, Spyro the Dragon Season of Ice, Super Mario Advance, Wario Land 4, and Banjo-Tooie. There is also a call to action to get your tips in for top prizes. Advance Wars gets some love with first ever tips for the GBA Classic, advising to use and the Nisa complete certain missions and unlock Drake, complete others with Max to get Grit, and finish all missions to unlock Kanbei. For Wario Land 4, we're finding those elusive Ruby Passage music threads, with tips to find them in the Curious Factory, the Toxic Landfill, 40 Below Fridge, and Pinball Zone. Mortal Kombat Advance gets some attention too, with tips on how to unlock Human Smoke, Motaro, and Shao Kahn. There are N64 and Game Boy Advance controller icons to help navigate the tips. This page is a grab bag of tips and tricks for your favorite Nintendo games. We start with Nintendo Top 5 GBA tips, with Mario Kart Super Circuit reclaiming its throne as king of GB Advance games. There's advice on boost starts and a Snowland secret path. Wario Land 4 gets a nod with tips on Super Hard Mode and changing enemy colors. Mario Advance guides you to extra lives on Stage 11, and Doom offers God Mode if you're frustrated. Spyro the Dragon has tips on opening all levels in Market Mesa. Classic Corner takes us back to Mortal Kombat 4 on the N64, with character selection secrets and big head cheats. Most requested focuses on Banjo 2, offering tips to conquer Lord Wu FAK. Lastly, Cheats Unlimited boasts over 10,000 cheats and tips for various consoles and games. There's a massive list of games and associated codes including All-Star Baseball 2000, Banjo-Kazooie, Conker's Bad Fur Day, Doom 64, GoldenEye, Legend of Zelda, Perfect Dark, Pokémon Stadium, Rayman 2, Rogue Squadron, South Park, Super Mario, Tony Hawk, Zelda, Grand Theft Auto, Harry Potter, Harvest Moon, Metal Gear Solid, Pokémon games, The Simpsons and many more, with titles spanning across the N64, Game Boy Advance, Game Boy Color and GameCube. This page is another collection of helpful hints and tips for Nintendo games. First up is Pokémon Yellow, with a guide on how to quickly make Pikachu happy. Then there's Pokémon Snap, revealing the secret lab in the Valley course. Mario Kart Super Circuit gets some love with a shortcut for the Donut Plains 3 course. The Your Questions Answered section tackles GoldenEye 007 cheats and Legend of Zelda, Ocarina of Time, offering advice on defeating Phantom Ganon in the Forest Temple. Paper Mario gets a mention too, with tips on defeating Super Blooper. Finally, there's a New Ways to Play section highlighting WWF No Mercy with a table match idea and Mario Kart 64 with a relay race concept. The next page is the Your Scores section, where readers show off their gaming skills in various Nintendo titles. This month's challenges include Wario Land 4, escape the big board level quickly. Mario Kart Super Circuit, Bowser's Castle 4, 100cc, fastest time, 3 laps, time trial mode. The results are listed for ISSFGB Advance and Pokémon Stadium 2 N64, with top banana winners and their scores. The magazine also has a mega challenge for Doom, tasking players to get the fastest time on the DIS level on the GB Advance. The top 4 players will be invited to Nom Towers for a deathmatch. It also includes rules for the mega challenge and states that the closing date is March 8, 2002, and the final on Saturday, April 13, 2002, and the final on Sahasnan 2. This page is all about Advance Wars for the Game Boy Advance, offering tips and basic tactics. It highlights the importance of teamwork, analyzing the battlefield, and capturing cities. The page also introduces the first 4 commanding officers, Sammy, Andy, Olaf and Max, each with their own unique playstyle. Andy is described as a good all-rounder, Sammy excels in rough terrain, Olaf is strong in snow, and Max is a brute force character. The next page continues the Advance Wars guide, this time focusing on the different units available. It breaks them down into land, naval, and air units, detailing their strengths and weaknesses. We've got infantry, MD tanks, mechanized infantry, anti-air, mobile artillery, APCS, rocket launchers, tanks, recons and missiles for land. Naval units include battleships, landers, cruisers, and subs. And of course, no war is complete without air units, fighters, bombers, and battle and transport copters. It emphasizes knowing your units to command your army effectively. This page presents a guide to Advance Wars, covering defensive and offensive strategies. It's broken down into sections such as protecting land units, aircraft cover, keeping the Navy afloat, and safeguarding bases. The offensive strategies section includes priority targets and capturing enemy bases. It gives tips on how to use different units and tactics to outmaneuver your opponent. The guide advises players to plan routes carefully and use the environment to their advantage, and to consider the role of APC units. It ends with a Go Forth, War Veterans message, encouraging players to submit their own strategies. The next page kicks off with Club Mario, where reader letters and quickfire questions take center stage, hosted by Tim and Rich. Readers share their thoughts, like one about a new F-Zero racer, another raving about Super Smash Bros. Melee, and a debate about the Xbox versus the GameCube. One reader suggests demo discs for the GameCube. Quickfire questions addresses topics like SSX Tricky, Crash Bandicoot, N64 games on GameCube and colored GameCubes. Mario's winner highlights reader opinions on console wars and praises quality GameCube games. A letter asks about a Game Boy Advance tour like the Pokémon Roadshows. Another reader gushes about playing a Japanese GameCube. There is also feedback about a James Bond title for GameCube. Nintendo Net News recommends NintendoLand.com, highlighting its reviews, features on classic games, message board, and fan art. The page also introduces new sections like Nom Poll about the Zelda look, Mona of the Month You Fool, and What's Wrong with Nom? This page presents the Mega Challenge Final from Club Mario. It details a Mario Kart Super Circuit challenge held at Nom Towers. The page introduces the 4 finalists, Jay Cathwadia, Andrew Watson, Martin Watson, and Tim Booth, listing their ages, hometowns, favorite races, and preferred tactics. It recaps the final race, noting Tim Booth emerged as the victor. Prizes galore mentions the finalists received Game Boy Advance titles and WWF toys. Tim also got Advance Wars, Denki Blocks, Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo Revivals, and a Nintendo official magazine subscription. An Are You Up For It? Section promotes the next Game Boy Advance Mega Challenge, encouraging readers to practice their Doom skills and send in scores. The page includes publication details, such as staff names like Tim Street, Richard Marsh, Mark Summer, and Joe Roberts, plus info on advertising, subscriptions, and legal matters. This page is all about the Pokémon Mini, describing it as a gaming powerhouse, despite being just over 7 centimeters tall. It's launching in March with 4 games, designed for quick pick-up and play. The vital statistics of the Pokémon Mini are listed, including the weight, height, width, depth, power source, and screen size. The page details the machine's features, including rumble, an infrared port, a shoulder button, A and B buttons, a D-PAD, and a reset button. The Pokémon Mini games are also featured: Pokémon Zany Cards, Pokémon Party Mini, Pokémon Puzzle Collection, and Pokémon Pinball Mini are listed with screenshots and brief descriptions. Finally, the page expresses the reviewer's excitement about the new console and games, predicting it will be a hit. This page is a competition page called Blagfest, where you can win Golden Sun for the Game Boy Advance, Pokémon videos, Corinthian Pro Stars figures, and Pooh items. The first competition is to win Golden Sun for the Game Boy Advance. You have to answer how long it takes the Earth to revolve around the Sun. The second competition is to win Mewtwo Returns the movie on VHS, by answering what attack does Mewtwo learn at level 99 in Pokémon Gold, Silver and Crystal. The third competition is to win Pooh and Tigger's Honey Safari for the Game Boy Color, by answering where Pooh, Tigger and their furry friends live. The final competition is to win Corinthian Pro Stars models by answering which of the football teams listed, Nigeria, Germany or Sweden, is not in England's World Cup group. The closing date for all competitions is March 14, 2002. Nintendo is launching the GameCube in the UK and Europe on May 3, priced around £150, with games costing approximately £35 to £40. Over 20 launch titles are planned, including Luigi's Mansion, Wave Race Blue Storm, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3, and Rogue Squadron 2, with Super Smash Bros., Melee and NBA, Courtside 2002. Following on May 24, the console will initially be available in purple and black, with controllers in matching colors plus purple/clear. Nintendo plans to ship 1 million GameCube consoles across Europe within the first 10 weeks. Alongside the GameCube launch, Nintendo will also reduce the Game Boy Advance price by roughly £10, with GBA games expected to fall below £30. Sonic Adventure 2 Battle will be the first game to offer connectivity between the GameCube and Game Boy Advance. This page is a preview of Turok Evolution for the GameCube. The screenshots show some of the outdoor environments and some of the dinosaur enemies. The article mentions that the developers have listened to fans of the original Turok and are bringing back the dinosaur fragging action. It boasts exclusive first play, dinosaurs returning, advanced enemy intelligence, and new play styles. The Game Info box lists Acclaim as the developer and Shooter as the genre, with the release date TBC. The reviewer thinks graphics in Turok games have always been good, but the monsters in this latest edition look more terrifying than ever and Turok rocks. The next page focuses on Turok Evolution. It starts with the twisted plot, revealing Tolset's fight against Captain Tobias Bruckner in 1886 Texas, before they're both transported to the Lost Land. Lord Tyrannus and his dinosaur army are causing trouble, and Bruckner is now fighting for him. We learn about the badass dinosaurs. Tyrannus is intelligent, war-waging reptiles who use huge dinosaurs as weapon-laden transports. The game features 32 different types of enemies, so be on your guard. Intelligent Life covers the enemies. Turok Evolution features improved enemy AI and squad dynamics, so expect realistic pincer movements and decoys. The article mentions that for the first time in a Turok game you'll get to fly up Pteranodon. This Super Fly Guy section mentions the bird is loaded with weaponry for some vicious dogfights. Lastly, Bring Out the Big Guns mentions the game will have a variety of weapons with secondary functions, like a sniper rifle that turns into a semi-automatic. Also mentioned is the Gravity Disruptor Beam and the Swarm Bore. The reviewer thinks this is a welcome return and hopes the coders will bring Turok to the forefront of the FPS scene. This page kicks off with Star Fox Adventures on Dinosaur Planet for the GameCube. They've got new shots and character introductions, highlighting it as a joint project between Rare and Nintendo of Japan. Fox will be joined by Slippy, who knows all about the latest weapons, and Peppy, the rabbit who supports Fox. Rob the robot will also lend a hand, and also Prince Tricky. Seems Falco's taken a powder to develop a solo career elsewhere. The game's about Fox liberating Dinosaur Planet from General Scales, aided by a magical staff. It's Zelda-style combat, apparently. The magazine thinks that if it was just a Rare project, they'd be excited, but as it's a collaboration between Nintendo and Rare, they're in a state of breathless anticipation. Next up is Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3 for the Game Boy Advance. It boasts new screens and 4-player action. The graphics look even better this time. The Scorpion King is also getting some love, with 2 new games coming to Nintendo consoles. GBA Fast News includes a light magnifier for the GBA, Dragon Ball Z coming to Nintendo, Rally King Colin McRae getting a handheld title, and Game & Watch is coming to the card e-reader. This page features a trio of game previews. First up is 007, Agent Under Fire for the GameCube, promising a classic Bond adventure with 3 gameplay modes, multiplayer focus and the usual guns, gadgets, grenades and girls. It sounds like a winner. They note that the graphics look great and the enemies are super intelligent. Next is Soccer Slam, also for the GameCube. It seems to be a football game, for people who hate football games. No holds barred version of the beautiful game. Finally, we've got WWF WrestleMania X8 for the GameCube, featuring all the stars and Alliance. It's touted as a brand new title from the developers of SmackDown, and they are excited about it. Lastly is 18-wheeler American Pro Trucker, where you race across America in your 60-foot-long, 18-wheeled monster. This page dives into a few more upcoming games. First, there's Broken Sword, Shadow of the Templars for the Game Boy Advance. The story goes deeper than it looks at first, involving a clown bomber and the Knights Templar. The graphics look promising, and there are puzzles to solve. The reviewers are already excited about it. Then, there's Vex for the GameCube. Vex is the dark-haired hero whose planet has been invaded. He's on a quest to free his friends, armed with magic talons. The game has open-ended levels and focuses on detailed graphics and real-time lighting. The reviewers think it's trying to capture the spirit of a Rare adventure. Finally, we have a preview of Sheep for the Game Boy Advance. It's a shepherding game, where you control dogs or sheep pigs to guide your flock. It promises 27 tough levels. On the right side is Fast News, where there is talk of Mortal Kombat Deadly Alliance, Nintendo clamping down on the sale of import GameCubes, Logic 3 preparing to bring the BAS to Nintendo, mass brawling in Japanese style, and MX 2003. This page is all about Resident Evil. We kick off with news of 5 new GameCube Resident Evil titles coming in 2002, including remakes of classic titles and the prequel, Resident Evil 0. There are new screenshots from the opening movie, featuring the S.E.A.R.S. team. The Hunters and Zombie Dogs are also getting a visual update. Next we meet the S.E.A.R.S. team, Chris Redfield, an Air Force pilot, and Jill Valentine, who's smarter and carries more items and is also proficient with lockpicks. Then there's talk of the Resident Evil movie starring Milla Jovovich, which follows her attempt to stop the T-virus. It's not directly based on the games but will feature some of the best monsters. There are screenshots showing off the flamethrower, hunters, dramatic camera angles, and the mansion's entry hall. The reviewer thinks there are a lot of Resident Evil games incoming, and they hope they don't overload on the franchise or run out of clean pants before the end of 2002. The next page kicks off with a preview of Rally 3 on Game Boy Advance, promising rally action, over 40 tracks, and head-to-head racing. The reviewer seems optimistic, noting the impressive graphics for a GBA racer, and hoping the handling lives up to expectations. There are screenshots showing off different terrains, and some sharp turns. They think after a wave of poor racers, the GBA is really coming into its own. Then there's an advert for King Cat, selling Dragon Ball and Sailor Moon merchandise, plus other anime goods. Then there's another advert for Dial-A Prize, where you can win a GameCube or other Nintendo goodies. The Nintendo official magazine promotes its advertising services. Next up are non-battle cards, free with the magazine. The reviewer mentions that you can go mad for Mario, mental for Mewtwo, and bonkers for Bowser. There are 30 cards in total, each with 4 categories. Then there's a list of top tones, pop tones, dance and boy bands. There is a phone number that is open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week for callers from Ireland. Finally, there are music and film logos. This page is the next issue cover, bursting with goodies. Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3 gets a look in, and ISS2 is also featured, billing itself as the GameCube's first footy fest. There's a promise of game guides and best cheats, plus GameCube news and a Club Mario section. There's also a review of Sonic Advance and Broken Sword. A Game Boy Color is in the corner, with a little comment that the GBC still has some gems. The Promises section lists reasons to keep reading the magazine. Read about every Nintendo game first, see the most shots of new games, understand the magazine's content easily, trust the writers, and never need to buy any other magazines. Rebentotsus. The next page features WWF Stars number 10 with Triple H, featuring a fact file on him, including his height, weight, and finishing move, the pedigree, and some trivia. There is an advert for various Nintendo games and consoles from ukgames.com. There's also an incredible free offer from Special Reserve, where you can choose a free gift when you join and make your first purchase. This page is a full-page advert for LEGO Racers, beckoning us to enter the world of drone racing. It highlights the ability to customize your vehicle for racing challenges in the drone, with the tagline, 3, 2, 1, go! The advert showcases the 4585 Nitro Pulverizer, capable of racing on rocky terrain, and the 8470 Slammer G-Force, designed for high-speed circuits. It emphasizes the pullback motor and slammer features, encouraging kids to experiment with the different pullback motors to see how their racers perform.